I feel like I taught a Morty. Now, don't take that in a negative context. We are all Mortys. But Rick finally taught a Morty. Who taught Rick? No one taught Rick. Rick got angry. And when Rick gets angry, he kind of destroys reality. Okay? I watched a Rick turn a Morty into a Doc Brown. And Doc Brown was unbeknownst, or whatever. He didn't know it was happening. I was like, literally, I'm watching Doc Brown fall off a toilet and bash his head because he was changing a light bulb. Is that the story in Back to the Future? Anyways, Back to the Future. Wow, time. So, all that happened. Someone convinced themselves of the math and was able to convince themselves by decoding their reality, which is different than my reality, different than your reality. We all have a different experience and path on this crazy adventure, so obviously not a lot of people resonated with it, or a lot of people resonated with it. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe if you're like an 85-year-old man, you would have not resonated with it. But I'm literally drawing flux capacitors and not knowing it. Anyway. Been thinking about time. Been thinking about what happens when you create one of these. You create one of these and you start it up. Okay. One very important thing is the dodecahedron, okay, the bowling ball, let's say, with the icosahedron inside it, with your heaven or your 5 rings of heaven with an octahedron inside of it. All of that is in the dodecahedron. Now, the dodecahedron needs light. Not only does it need light, it needs a hole where you can pour water into it. That hole, I think, is very important, where the position of the hole is. And for some reason, I think it's at a 45 degree and 23.4 degree offset. Or 90 minus 23.4 is 66.6 degree offset. Okay. Alpha and omega is just a 1 and a 15 circled. 116 useful lines. Genesis 1. To understand your dimensions. Of those 116 lines, 56 of them are extremely useful for the mathematical cipher, and 56 divided by 126 is a whole lot of 0.4s. Use the 4s, guy. So I feel like I trained a Jedi. Kind of feel like a Luke Skywalker. You know, like Luke Skywalker, it took him 3 movies to be somewhat useful in the Force. It took me 3 years to be somewhat useful and to understand what I think is going on in the game that's being played with us. It's a game. It's being played with us by the controllers. It's a game that we don't know we're playing. So it took me 3 years, okay. And then apparently, like, I guess Luke Skywalker trains Han Solo and Leia's son, Kylo Ren, in the ways of the Force, but he obviously goes dark. And what does Luke Skywalker do? He pieces out, man. He draws like a map, and then like another map, pieces out. Come find me. And in that time, where they eventually apparently find Luke, and then the movie ends and I haven't seen the next one. I really don't want to, because I think it's going to be a shot at Kevin. I think it's going to be a shot. Like, I was watching Kill Bill, both of them, and fell asleep, for Kill Bill 2, the ending. But last night I actually mustered enough strength or energy, to turn on the movie, and There, Homestar Runner, okay, Homestar Runner. If you Google Homestar Runner and like Strong Bad, or just look up Arrowed. Arrowed. It's just like I felt like arrowed in the heart. First of all, come on, she finds out her baby's alive. Like I haven't seen my babies in a long time. I would like, it'd be nice to like finally see them. And she gets to like, spend some time. Basically, in her mind, says I'm never gonna I might never see you again. So leaves her necklace on the frame, and she knows she's going out to duel because she has unfinished business. Now, before they get going, and I see myself in both David Carradine and Uma Thurman. Okay, Quentin, and it's a film by Q and U, Quentin and Uma, 17 and 21, 38, 33 circled 5 times. Which just means 0.33333. Okay, guy? The third? Anyways. Before the duel, he shoots her with truth serum. Now this is truth serum. Gematria and decoding your words into numbers, you can tell the truth. You can literally discern the truth, I think. That's why they take your words in the court of law. The judge makes a decision after they go back there and do a bunch of gematria. But you don't know that. You're not allowed to know that. Probably have a computer do it for them now. Anyway, software. So, it's probably happening right now on this video. Being sent to some Google database, some D-Wave computer. But whatever, right? Anyways, before the truth, he asked, obviously his heart was broken. He needed some questions answered. I need some questions answered. She needs some questions answered. Everyone needs questions answered in order to what? Restore balance to our lives. Now, as much as I know that I'm not living in balance, she must somewhat know that she is also not living in balance, and her babies are not also living in balance. It must be wearing down, I'm trying to think of I can say all these really awesome things, but I'm trying to think of some kind of injury that you get from wearing down. Like blisters on your hand, but that's not painful enough. Anyways. So, unfinished business. He has a speech about Superman. He talks about... He rants because he needs to talk for 2 minutes to let the poison kick in, so he's using his time wisely. He tells her a story about Superman and how he didn't become Superman. He just was Superman. Like, Clark Kent is a disguise for Superman, and it's reflected upon his overall outlook of humanity. And they're weak, and they're simple, all that stuff. Peter Parker became Spider-Man. Everyone became the other, superhero. But Superman was born Superman. Kind of I'm not saying, I'm just saying I was just born this way. I was given, I had no control over any of the pieces of the puzzle, which were me. The whole thing about being a Taurus sign, the whole thing about somewhat being, I believe, a Capricorn sign, somehow being a Orion sign, somehow, there's like a trinity. Now, I keep saying that. There's different ways of looking at the zodiacs. There's probably 5, I don't know. But knowing thyself is a quite important piece of the puzzle, because if you know yourself and you know others, you can better discern how to interact with these people to keep everything copacetic. So I think I've definitely evolved. I'd like to say one of the only people I believe that has truly evolved into this new consciousness paradigm. A lot of people out there are sending emails about, talking about walking the path into the Christ consciousness and everything. They're doing very well as well, but I truly think I have evolved. I am not the person I used to be. I can never go back to that person. Really, the only thing holding me back right now is I'm trying to decide what to do going forward. And I really like to have a good plan before I do anything. Because I go into anything 110%. And when I don't... like Orion trait is, let's say, there's knowledge about all this stuff in the world. I don't give a shit. I only care about the 3 things that I care about. And I know them like the back of my hand. Or like the front of my hand. Everyone used to say that, like, my lifeline is like broken and like that's bad. And they kept saying, like, there's the left hand, I guess. They kept saying that, like, you know, like, ooh, your lifeline's like broken. Like, yeah, I know, I'm gonna like take on a new life in my life. That's cool. I'm okay with change. Change is good. Change is necessary. Because the way I see it, this doesn't work. None of it. I'm really starting to think, like, life is truly upside down, backwards, and flipped here. Like, you're gonna have to start calling giant dudes from Texas, like, women. Because we're cursing God by speaking and not truth and false truth. Everything's upside down, backwards, and flipped. Maybe we don't have to speak like that, but, like, you have to consciously know. But when you don't speak in truth, you are creating numbers. So maybe we all want to start creating the correct numbers. That's what the armor of God is. This is a 7-layered breastplate. You know what I'm saying? It has all the different schematics for the different armor needed for the different appendages of Kevin. Speaking in truth is wearing this. It's knowing the right numbers to say. And as fucked up as it is in this reality, the current way it is, I believe the correct numbers are your swear words. Everything they don't want you to say, or everything they say is impolite to say, are actually the right numbers. They are the right combinations of words to get you the numbers. But it sounds bad because you've been conditioned that this is bad. So either we start speaking like that, or we change the way we speak to make the proper numbers. And the only frame of reference that's out there is right here. This is the only frame of reference. This is the derivation of gematria somehow. It's incomplete, the proof. But this is definitely simple English, Jewish. And there are many other types of gematria. And I just think that's a different face or vertice of this cell. Okay, I don't know how big the dodecahedron is inside there. Like, I do. But, like, it's not like, well, probably they are the millimeters or something, or the whatever units are going to be here. Okay. Now, alpha, this is another thing. Alpha and omega. It's a 1 and a 15. Circled is 116. 116, huge, right? Now, again, Jason, he is riding a very huge high, but he says some cool things, you know? Doc Brown over there. Doc Brown. I'm Rick, he's Doc Brown. That's the way I see it right now. Okay? He mentioned the N is the Z because it hasn't been rotated 90 degrees. I agree as well, because everything is upside down, backwards, and flipped. Okay? That's not God's left eye. That is. That's the earth. No, it's not. But anyways, that's the earth. But when you do this, it's on God's left. It's upside down. Not only that, backwards, you got to read it from God's left to God's right, not your left to your right. And flipped means you have to rotate it 90 degrees. Okay? So when you rotate an N 90 degrees, you get a Z. The omega, the Z, you know, 26. God. This is the God particle. This is everything you've ever heard about the God particle is a bunch of this. This is the God particle. He's talking about in between the titties. It's in between the bubble for the G and the bubble for the D. And the D is a little bit more misshaped than the G. And in between is the green. The green is the dollar bill sign right here. It's an S with a line through it. Okay? Now, it's funny that a circled N is a 15 again. Backwards is a 51. Circled is a 52, capital Z. Now think about that for a new alphabet.